Hello, I'm Vince DePaul, Director of Your House Real Estate Academy, and I want to explain what the differences are between our program and those you might find elsewhere. Ours is a unique, flexible learning program designed specifically for adult learners. As you can see from the course syllabus, this class is scheduled for 15 sessions or approximately 8 weeks. Although you might set a goal of completing the course in that time, your enrollment is actually good for 6 months. You see, all of our students are enrolled in a state-approved, good old-fashioned home study course that offers students a great deal of flexibility. These classes are designed to augment your home study course by offering live instruction and access to licensed instructors both in class and outside of class. There's a 60-hour requirement for the first part of the program, and you'll notice from the syllabus that you are in class 3 hours per session for 11 sessions. It's easy to see that that adds up to 33 hours. The balance of the required hours are evidenced by your studying at home and completing the 10 required practice exams. Those exams are taken by accessing your personal account on the student-only portal under My Classes. If you need assistance getting to your account, simply call the school office. The white student workbook outlines the course in detail. You'll notice the inside front cover has the business cards of the school directors, mine and that of my partner, Michael Fair. Please contact either of us if you have any questions concerning the course or your studies. You'll also notice that you need to register with the State Exam Testing Service, PSI, in order to receive an ID number that's required when you make your state exam testing appointment. The workbook also contains information from the state of Illinois giving the breakdown of the hours and minutes you'll need to spend on each and every subject that you'll be tested on. Some of the units in your workbook will have supplemental material that you'll need to study. It's information that may or may not be in your textbook, but it's emphasized again in the workbook. Speaking about the textbook, here's an important study tip. At the end of each chapter, you'll see practice exams. When you take those exams, never mark your answers on the exam. Always keep the exams clean. You'll see one of the best ways to prepare for the state exam is to take the same exam you've already taken more than once. If you mark the answers on the exam, those exams become worthless for studying. Therefore, you should always use a separate piece of paper to write down your answers. Now, at this point, I want to mention that all of our exams are practice exams. I believe that one of the best ways for you to prepare to take the state exam is to take exam after exam after exam after exam. And also, if you come across a question and you don't know the answer, I'm encouraging you to go in the textbook and find the answer. These exams are open book exams. And the reason for that is if you don't know an answer and you go and look it up, now you know it, and we've accomplished our goal. The other thing I want to encourage you to do is not guess. If you don't know the answer and you can't find it, or if you don't have time to look it up, don't guess. The worst thing that can happen when you guess is that you guess correctly. Because if you guess correctly, then you won't know that you don't know it. You'll think you have it correct. Don't guess. Leave it blank and take the hit. And then you can discuss it with your instructor. However, on the state exam, you can guess. But on our exams, you're practicing, so don't guess. Also, I want to encourage you to do something a little different. Every time you receive an exam back, every student will look at the exam grade, and then you look at the questions that you got wrong. I'm going to ask you to turn that around. Certainly look at your grade, but instead of looking at the questions you got wrong, I want you to go through all the questions that you got correct. Look at the first one and say, good, I know that. And then the next, good, I understand that. And then the next, fine, I know that. And as you go through all of these, you can skip the ones that you got wrong. Once you finish that, then you go through and you look at the ones that you got incorrect. And what tends to happen is that you change the whole energy that you're projecting. If you look at the ones you got wrong, now you're focusing on the negative. Start with the positive, build your confidence, and then address the questions that you got wrong. Also, if you do that, then when you go back and look at the ones you got incorrect, you'll often notice that you sort of knew that to begin with. You see, if you just turn that around, I think you'll find that to be a much more positive experience. There are two purposes for this course. The first, of course, is for you to understand the transfer of real estate, the processes, and the language. The second is to build your confidence to take the state exam. A lot of research has been done on why people who understand the material very well do not pass the state exam the first time. At Your House Academy, we understand what's involved in taking the state exam. There's no secret here. What keeps people from passing the state exam is the anxiety of taking an exam. And that's perfectly reasonable. It's human nature. People do not like to take exams. You need to believe right here and now that you can pass the state exam. And if you have any doubt in your mind, and I talk to students all the time that tell me, oh, I hate taking exams, and I'm no good at taking exams, and I always get nervous when I take exams. When that thought comes to your mind, I want you to immediately put it out of your mind and just believe that you can pass this exam. The state exam is passable, and I know many of you are already confident. You've gone through all kinds of academia and you've got degrees and you know you can take this exam and pass it. But I want you to have some foundation for that belief. Here's an example. Let's say you want to learn to swim. Now, I can give you a book on how to swim, and this book can have all the information that you need. How to move your arms, how to kick your legs, how to breathe, all the strokes that are acceptable, written by the best swimmers in the world. But are you going to read a book and learn how to swim? Of course not. You'll never learn how to swim until you jump in the water. So you can learn this real estate material, you can understand it very well, but you still may not pass the state exam, because just having the knowledge is not necessarily all that it takes. It's really very, very simple. It's a way to build your confidence. It's a list of 60 blank lines. Every time you take an exam, you check one off. You can put the test date or the test number or simply a check mark. It really doesn't matter. When you finish an exam in the textbook, for example, or one of the course exams, or if you take an exam for the second time or the third time, every time you take an exam, I want you to mark something in that line. The point I'm making with this is that if you take 60 exams and then you go and take your state exam, if you can look at this sheet and it's all marked and it's all dog-eared and coffee-stained and whatever, that will build your confidence. But keep it with your study materials. But every time you take an exam, log it in. You'll find that this will be invaluable as a confidence builder when you go to take the state exam. The next thing I'm going to ask you to do is consider something you'll be learning in your studies. You're going to learn about the law of agency and the responsibilities of being an agent. One of those responsibilities is confidentiality. When your client asks you to keep something confidential, or if you know that the information they're sharing with you should be kept confidential, you need to understand that by law and by professionalism, you need to keep that to yourself. Well, I want you to practice something. I want you to practice confidentiality. Let me start with my reasoning for this. When I took the state exam decades ago, I was very prepared and I was very confident that I was going to pass the exam. But while I was taking the exam, a test question came up and I didn't know the answer. Well, that was okay. But another test question came up and it was tough and I didn't know the answer. And then another, and then another. And while I'm taking this exam, I'm starting to get very nervous and very anxious, and the thought occurred to me, I might not pass this exam. Aside from that, a scarier thought came to my mind. How am I going to tell my wife that I failed this test? I would have been humiliated, and the thought occurred to me while I'm in the middle of this exam. I wish I hadn't told her I was coming. Now, it turned out that I passed the exam and all is well. But I'm going to ask you, when you make your appointment to take the state exam, don't tell anyone. Don't tell your husbands, don't tell your wives, don't tell your mother, don't tell your best friend. Keep it confidential. You will have learned the duty of confidentiality in this course. Use it. Practice it. Don't tell anyone. Stop and think. People who love and care for you are going to be saying, "Oh, we wish you luck. Give us a call when you pass." I'm sure you can understand that puts pressure on you. What you want is to have no pressure. My anxiety that day came from thinking about what's going to happen if I fail this exam. I believe that anxiety caused something else. I read an exam question and I knew the answer, but I couldn't remember it. I knew the subject, I knew what they were talking about, but I couldn't remember the answer because I was so nervous about this test. Confidentiality will eliminate that. Now, I want you to project something even better. You don't tell anybody, and you take the exam, and you pass. Now, later on that day, maybe at dinner that night, you turn to your loved ones and you say, "Guess what I did today?" Can you see that happening? They'll ask, "Well, all right, what did you do?" "Well, I took my state exam and I passed it." "You did? Why didn't you tell us?" "Well, Vince told me not to tell you." But anyway, you can see how much better it is to tell them what you did instead of what you're going to do. Keep it confidential. Don't tell anyone that you scheduled the exam. Just enjoy the reaction of the people that love and care for you after you passed. One other point. Make sure you know exactly where you're going. A day or two before the testing date, get in your car and drive to the testing site. The state of Illinois has testing sites in and around the Chicagoland area. So in addition to practice, 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 and the concept of confidentiality, and don't tell anyone, and then you add to that the fact that you know exactly where you're going, that will greatly reduce your anxiety level. We want to be a resource for you now and throughout your real estate career. Please be sure to let us know if we can be of help. Best wishes.